We do property tours all the time. I show you homes that 1% of the 1% can own. How to bring 1% homes to more people. How do you take a luxury vacation secondary home market, which is mostly sitting vacant most of the time. These houses are empty all the time, which is totally wasteful, not sustainable, not green whatsoever, and bring it to more people. Through the process of LLC ownership, you can now own this house. It's not a timeshare. You're not gonna Airbnb this. Actually, you're not even allowed to rent it. You can own it. Like, I could buy this house right now, $6 million house, and I could buy it for $875,000. Insane. The house comes fully stocked. Everything is ready to go. Towels, everything. Like as if it's a 5-star resort, but it's not a hotel, it's not a timeshare. You own it. So you don't just have to use this house for a vacation. You can use this house for work too. Like maybe you come to Miami Beach all the time for work and you're sick and tired of staying in hotels and the desk is already set up. Everything's good to go. You are ready. I also like the idea of not bouncing around to hotels. House is so nice. Oh, it's like your house. You get to own it. It's not like a timeshare where you also have like hotel people staying in it. And it's not like you've got your cousin Vinny who's like barging in, who's like, oh, I thought I bought this weekend. It's like, no, Vinny. Furniture, like I said, comes with these houses. They're in 35 cities, they're in multiple countries. Go to their website, you can see it's completely insane. They're going into New York now, lots of other places. And so everything comes like really, really, really nice. That's what co-ownership is all about, right? And it reminds me too of like the sustainability of home ownership, right? Everyone wants their own house, everyone wants their own mansion, everyone wants their own place. But then all these people have these secondary homes all over the world and they never go to them. They sit there vacant on land that no one is using. So as we think about future forward, sustainability, owning homes, which is great, but being able to do it in a sustainable way or as sustainable as possible, bringing co-ownership for luxury second homes in the best cities around the world to the masses. So check it out. I love it, and I think it's cool to get it out there to the world, and that's what this is.
Yeah, so I read an article in Time magazine in the early 90s, and it said the internet was going to be the biggest industry of our lifetime, and that turned out to be true. I was not a technology person, but I realized to learn the internet business, I had to learn a couple things. One is how to build websites, how to create emails, so kind of ground zero. So when I started my business about building websites and creating email campaigns, one of my very first clients was a guy named Lou Pearlman. And Lou Pearlman started a band called Backstreet Boys. He created NSYNC and a whole bunch of others that you probably never heard of. And Lou is a brilliant businessman, and he created an amazing array of bands, but he knew nothing about internet marketing. The challenge he had was his target customer was a 13-year-old girl. And the 13-year-old girl was already on news groups and chat groups. So today we'd call that social media. Today it's Snapchat and Instagram and Facebook and those, or TikTok. But back in the day, they were called news groups and chat groups. So my first big internet client was Lou Pearlman working with the bands. And it was an incredible experience because we got to launch these bands around the world, and we became the best-selling band of all time. We sold over 100 million records. We sold over $1 billion of hats and t-shirts and concert tickets. And it was completely done through internet marketing. So I realized the power of the internet this is in the 90s. I learned the power of a really social and how influential people are. So for example, if we send an email to a 13-year-old teenage girl, we could track how many people she would send it to. And at the time, it was on average 40 people. So we realized back, this is many years ago, the power of if you create something and you've done a great job with your brand, with your product, how it will naturally spread. So yeah, that was our background. And then we took the same technology to the condominium business. So starting with Tridel, and had the privilege over 20 years to work with the number 1 or number 2 condo developer in 15 countries and 5 continents. So helped pre-sell over $6 billion of condominiums. So it was an amazing experience about learning how real estate and technology work well together. Running a digital agency that specializes in real estate over a couple decades and working with the smartest real estate developers on the planet, you learn a lot. So we'll start with Ritz-Carlton. So Ritz-Carlton is now owned by Marriott, and it's obviously a luxury brand. And what I learned from Ritz-Carlton is the incredible customer service. So with Ritz-Carlton, for example, there's a credo. There's 12 things that every employee has to keep in their wallet at all times. Just to give you an example of how does this work. So if you're at a Ritz-Carlton and you have an issue with, let's say, something in your room, and you were to tell the housekeeper, or some people call it the maid, that person can actually make a decision up to $2,000 without getting a manager's approval. This is revolutionary. The fact that you can ask your housekeeper to help you with something, or if something is broken, and they can make a decision up to $2,000 without getting any approval from anyone, it gives you a sense of how Ritz-Carlton treats its customers. I'll give you just another example about Ritz-Carlton. They're not allowed to say no. So anytime you have interaction with somebody that works for Ritz-Carlton, you'll never hear the word no. When you say thank you to a Ritz-Carlton person, they don't say you're welcome. They have their own language about how they serve customers. It's incredible. They feel it's a privilege to serve customers. So there's an enormous amount that I learned working with Ritz-Carlton. I'll use the Trump organization. So with the Trumps, they wanted to get into the high-end luxury hotel business. And again, they're competing with brands like Four Seasons, like Ritz-Carlton, which have taken it to the whole next level. So how did they do it? What I learned from the Trump organization is how they use technology. So for example, when you meet somebody in the lobby of the Trump, let's say you pull up your car and the person comes to take your baggage out of the car, they just ask you some basic questions like, are you checking in? Great, where are you coming from? They'll look at your bag tags and say, oh, you're coming from Chicago, how was your flight? They start asking you just basic, friendly questions. But what they're doing, and they've got a little microphone in their ear, they're already transmitting that information to the front desk. So they're saying, Bodnarchuk, he's arriving again, or he's stayed here before, just came in from Chicago. So by the time that you've got out of your car, you've now walked to the front desk, they already have your information. They say, oh, welcome back, Mr. Bodnarchuk. How was your flight? I mean, it makes you feel like a celebrity. Then as they take your bags up to your room, they're still making small talk and, what brings you to Toronto this time? And you might say, oh, I'm here for the Sarah McLachlan concert. So again, this would be normally, kind of a passive conversation. But at the Trump organization, they take that data and it's entered into their CRM system. So the next time you might check into your room, you might be staying in your room, all of a sudden, Sarah McLachlan's playing. Now you have no idea, you don't even notice this, but you don't even realize why you like that property so much. But the next week you might be staying at the Dubai property and all of a sudden Sarah McLachlan might be playing on the radio. I'll give you another example. They have a fruit basket they give you and they monitor and they notice, oh, Roman really he eats all the bananas, never touches the grapes. So as the next time you check at a Trump property, it might be at the New York one or it could be in Vegas, all of a sudden lots of bananas, they've removed the grapes. So it's about learning from a technology perspective, more about your customers, serving them better. So having the experience of working with Four Seasons, which I would still consider one of the greatest brands, in the history of luxury real estate, and Four Seasons and Trump, we've learned a lot. The learning from Four Seasons, for example, was they never hired you based on your experience. They would do 500 interviews just to hire one person, and they never cared about your experience. As a matter of fact, if you worked in the hotel before, it might actually work against you. They're hiring you based on your personality and how hard you were, what your work ethic was like, and if you're willing to learn. It's fascinating. So when you meet Four Seasons people, they're extraordinary because they've hired them based on their personality. So to summarize, spending the last 20 years working with incredible real estate developers, incredible hospitality brands, we've learned quite a bit. So yeah, we've been involved in selling and marketing real estate around the world, mostly second homes. So I'll give you one example. We worked for an incredible client called Montecito, and their properties were condominiums, and they were focused on second home destinations. So they had beautiful, beautiful properties in California. For example, Laguna and La Jolla, and just these stunning locations. They own properties in Arizona, for example, in Scottsdale, in Phoenix, in Florida along the coast, in South Carolina, in Georgia. And we were able to sell over $1 billion of real estate in 1 year. They were a startup company. We worked with them. We went from $0 to $1 billion in 12 months, sold over 5,000 units. These are some world records. So we sold 367 condos in 90 minutes. It's about $1 million a minute. And we learned a lot about what people were looking for in a second home. And it was a fascinating experience. And I think that, people haven't really changed that much. We want the ability to take our family and to go to a second home, not necessarily a hotel, but we want a place that we call home, and we want to have everything done for us. We don't want to we're not looking for a second job. We're not looking for a property we've got to do a lot of work to. And that a lot of people find that in a condominium. Condominiums are typically, lock the door and leave. You don't have to worry about it. Houses are a lot of work. So owning a second home, which is a house, is usually a lot of work because now you're coordinating the pool person, the hot tub person, the landscaper. There could be, the bug spray person, the air duct cleaning person, the cleaners, the window. Like, I can go on and on. Condominiums served a purpose because they were really simple. But the challenge now after pandemic is most of us now travel with full families, parents, brothers, sisters, friends. So people are traveling with bigger groups. So now that 2-bedroom, 2-bath condo doesn't really fit that well. And they're looking more for that 4 or 5-bedroom home, on a property with their own pool because they don't really want to share a pool. They don't want to share the hot tub. So people have now moved away from that typical resort kind of life to more of that beautiful second home, which has all the amenities. And that's a major shift that we've seen just in the last couple of years. And it's why second homes have increased in value by over 50% just in the last 2 years alone.